Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about what to do when you're traveling for the first time. Panama edition, right? So a lot of the girlies have been asking me to do a video of the things that you need to do, preparing for your trip for the first time, right? I remember when I was traveling to Panama for the first time, I had nowhere to get information. I searched on YouTube and I searched on TikTok. I found a few things, but not a detailed video telling you the things that you need to do before you get to Panama and what to do when you get to Panama. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is notify your bank. Guys, I've heard too many stories of persons traveling and not notifying their bank, and they get locked out, their card get locked down, and they can't use the card as they would want. However, if you notify your bank before you travel, let them know where you're going. So if they see a notification in a strange country, they're going to close down your card. Call the bank, let them know that you're traveling, and please tell them where you're going, right? So whenever they see that your card is being used in a foreign country, they already know, right? So for persons, when you're traveling, always make sure you have cash. If you're going to leave money on your card to use when you get there, no problem, but ensure that you have cash, right? When you go to like some other hotels, you can pay cash. You can pay for the hotel in cash. If you want to use your card to pay for the hotel, please ensure you notify your bank. The last person I spoke to, they had this story about when they went to the hotel and they were paying for the hotel with the card. They left all the money on their card. They didn't bring a lot of money for cash, right? And they were paying for the hotel with the card, and the bank locked down the card. So all the little money that they had to pay the hotel with that money, and then they were left without cash for spending money to buy food, excursion, for taxis. They were stranded for like 3 days. They couldn't do anything because the next problem is when you're calling your bank from a foreign country. Sometimes this person didn't have roaming on their phone. We will touch that further down in the video. They didn't have any roaming on their phone. So it cost them a whole lot of money to call the bank, and they were on the phone with the bank for hours trying to sort out this card thing. No, you're on vacation. You don't want to be on the phone talking to the bank while you're on vacation because that's cutting into your vacation time. So whenever you're traveling, be prepared. Be prepared. And that's one of the ways to prepare for your trip is to call your bank, notify the bank. And as I said, if you are going to use your card, ensure that you still have cash. Just in case you have issues with the bank, you can always still enjoy your vacation. Right? So another thing is when you go to majority of these hotels, you have to pay like a deposit. They're doing a deposit now because persons are stealing stuff from the hotel. So they're holding on to like $200, $300 for deposit. So ensure that if you're walking with cash, that you walk with like $200, $300 extra for deposit. So what you're going to do is hold on to that $200 or $300. And when you're leaving, remember to ask for it because you're supposed to get it back, right? And that's the point on notifying your bank. It doesn't matter which bank you use, notify your bank. All right. So next point, bring cash. When you're going to a foreign country, you don't know what can happen. You have people who want to go vacation and you don't really have the money. Yes, you're going on a budget-friendly vacation, but you want to make sure that you have enough money just in case something was to happen. Anything can happen. I can tell you that I have so many horror stories that I can tell you about what happened to me while I'm in foreign countries that you're going to need extra cash for. So I would say put aside like $200 extra for like emergencies, so you can do whatever you need to do if that occurs. One in 10 times that probably would happen, but it can happen. Not all of my trips I have issues, but I can tell you about a few places that I've been that I had issues that needed extra money, right? So bring extra cash. Make sure that is your emergency fund. Like when you just say you have, yeah, okay, your vex money when you go on a date, consider your vacation a date, and yeah, bring your extra money for emergencies. Okay. So some countries are cashless, that they don't take cash for deposits, and they don't take cash for payment of the hotels. You can't pay cash at the hotel. You have to use a card. However, we'd have to do a video for that card. But in Panama, they do take cash. They take cash for the payment of the hotel. They take cash everywhere, and it's US dollars. I'm not sure if they have a different currency, but when I went there, I used strictly US dollars. As I was saying, right? Bring cash. So what I do whenever I'm traveling, I bring cash for my hotel. The cash for the hotel is different from what I spend, the spending money, right? So what you need to do is do your research on whichever hotel that you are staying, right? And you can reserve the hotel and you pay at property because some of the apps, so I use Expedia, right? And on the Expedia app, you have the option to pay now or you have the option to pay later. So I normally choose the options to pay later and I will pay cash at the resort. Or if you want to use the option to pay now and you pay from your card, you can also do that. So you pay from your engine from before you leave the country, right? However, I normally pay when I get there, right? So if say for instance your hotel for the week is $500, then you're going to save your $500 for your hotel, and then you're going to figure out how much you want to spend for your spending money. That is totally up to you, how much you want to spend. Then you need like $200 for the deposit, right? And then you're going to need like $200 for emergency, right? So, so as I was saying, bring cash. Do not bring the exact money, guys. I promise you. You might you might get away with it one time, but I promise you, every destination is different. Anything can happen. So always bring if it's even like $300 extra for emergency. Okay. So the next point is download. Alright. So as I was saying, download the Uber app. This is very, very important. I repeat, download the Uber app. Download it from before you reach. These things that I'm telling you is what you need before you get to the destination, right? You don't want to wait till you reach your destination. You have to figure out where you need to do certain things before you get there, so it saves you time. Okay? So you're going to download the Uber app, and when you get to the airport, you're going to go on that Uber app. You're going to put in the location of where you're at, which would have been the airport, and then you're going to put in where you're going, which is your hotel, and the amount of persons, right? And then you'll get some options as to what to choose. You can choose whichever option suits you best. However, if you don't have the Uber app, you're going to end up paying like $40, $50, $60 just to go to the hotel. If you have an Uber app now, you pay like $5, $6. Okay, guys. So as I was saying, download the Uber app, right? It saves a lot of money. So you have the yellow cabs there, and are very, very popular everywhere where you want to see them, but they're more expensive, right? Compared to the Uber. So the yellow app you pay like $20 one way, and the fare here is one you have to pay for both ways. So like $20 one way, $20 the other way, right? So when we went to Panama for the first time, I ended up paying like way more to go to the hotel. However, the second time around, I used the Uber app and I saved a lot of money. I think from the airport to the hotel, I paid like what was it? Like $15, and it was 6 of us, right? So it saves a lot of money. And when you're traveling, guys, ensure that you come down like to the lobby before you make a ride, because majority of the times, the taxis are pretty close by, and sometimes you can't get on. So ensure that you're in the lobby whenever you're getting a ride, right? When you come out of the airport, you're gonna see a whole lot of people bombarding you, like taxi drivers, the yellow cabs, and the ones that do like charters. But I promise you, when you ask them, you're going to the regular one way or church, right? So you don't know your Uber app to see somebody. Another thing that I would want to touch on is ensure that you have change. A lot of times people travel and they travel with big bills like $50 and $100, and a lot of times no change. So for the Ubers, you don't want to give them like $50 and $100 because that's going to cost issue. So you need to bring a lot of $1. So when I'm traveling, I change out probably like $50 and $1, like $51. Sometimes I have $100 and $1. You don't have to do that much. And because I travel often, like if I don't use up all of the dollars, then I'm going to do it another time. but it's good to have dollar. So dollar, $5, and $10 is pretty important when you're traveling. So you can pay easily. You don't want to be in problem with changing money. So the things like the big bills when you're shopping, but like if you pay taxes and stuff like that, you need small notes. All right. So make sure you get some $5, some $10, and some dollar. Right. In Panama, they give $1 in coins. So sometimes you're getting up with a whole lot of dollars and a whole lot of silver. What you can do is Google the money so you can understand how much it is. And you sometimes I use that to pay the Uber fare. So like when you get back to change, you use the same coins that they give you to pay the Uber drivers, right? Because we don't in Jamaica we don't use the coins. So if you bring it back home, it is going to be useless. So what they can do is use it to pay the Uber drivers, right? So download the Uber app. All right. Another app that you need to download is the digital app. Majority of persons will already have the digital app on their phone, but if you don't have a digital app, you need to download the digital app. And guys, this is not a sponsored video. This is just what I use and it works for me, right? So I downloaded the digital app and you can get roaming and you have a roaming plan, right? Because internet or Wi-Fi is pretty important when you're traveling, so you can communicate with your family members and if you need to make calls for emergency and stuff like that. The hotels normally have like Wi-Fi, but this is if you're on the road and you need to communicate. Majority of the times you're at the mall, you're not going to get Wi-Fi at the mall. Some of the restaurants they don't get the password. Some of the restaurants will give you the password, but majority of the time you won't be getting the Wi-Fi password or they don't have any Wi-Fi for guests, right? So you need to have Wi-Fi while you're traveling or data while you're traveling. So Digital has a roaming plan, and I feel like it is pretty reasonable because you have different options. However, you have to be mindful on the one that you choose because some of them don't work in Panama. So I think you have a global one and you have one for the Caribbean and you have one for international. So when you're going to do the roaming one, all you have to do is just make sure that you choose the one that works in Panama. If you even have to call a customer service rep to digital customer service rep and ask a few questions to just to know which one is best for you, you can do that as well. Because the one that works in Panama, I don't think it works everywhere. So you have to be mindful of the one that you choose, right? If you have a different roaming that you use that works for you, that's totally fine, but that's the one that I use, okay? So you download the digital app and you check out their roaming plan. It's very reasonable, very cheap. And it works, guys. Like, some places you go and the digital app doesn't work. And the apps don't work, but the digital app works, right? Works for me. All right. Another thing that you need to do is to fill out a form. You have to fill out the form when you're entering the country, and you have to fill out the form when you're leaving the country. Normally, when you book your flight, at the bottom of the notification with the flight details and everything, there's a website that you just click on, and you go on that website and you fill out your form, put in your information. The information is basically your flight details, when you're leaving, when you're coming back, the hotel you're staying, how much person staying, the age, just things that you require for traveling. It's nothing too complicated, but it is required for you to fill it out, right? However, if you don't fill out that form before you leave Jamaica, you might have to fill it out at the airport, right? So if you want to save time, you can do it at the airport, but if you want to save time, because majority of the times you're tired and you just want to get to your hotel, you don't want to be stuck in the airport, you know the form. So it's best to fill it out when you're going. To save time, you can fill out the one that you need to come back same time. So you fill out both forms before. So when you do it, you don't need to do it twice. You just do it same time when you have the one for it. All right. What else? So another thing, when you go to the stores, for you to get discount, they will ask you for your passport. They ask you for your passport. So when you go to the stores and you ask, they ask you if you're a tourist. That is the reason why they're asking. So when you say yes, I'm a tourist, they will ask you for your passport. So when you bring your passport, you show them, you get like 20% or I don't know how much discount you'll get now because I guess they changed the amount that they discount per year. So bring your passport if you want discount. Okay. So when you get to Panama, guys, ensure that you pay attention to the state of the hotel. Because remember, you're going to pay a deposit, right? So you have to make sure you check. Well, that's what I do. I check my hotel room to see if there's any damages to the property or there's any damages to the room that is there before. And what I normally do is take like a picture of the damage or whatever it is that's there, so that whenever you're leaving, they can say it's you that damaged the property, right? So we take a picture. We take a picture of everything. Because nobody now take my money just like that. So pay attention. Take a look at the room, and you see like another more, is it like 10 more, anything, just anything in general. If there's no blow dry in the room, they make a documentation of that because from get to you make it was no blow dry in the room. Because you know when you leave, now they're gonna say, I you take the blow dry. So you have to things like those. Pay attention, right? What else? I think that's it really. If I think of anything else, I'll probably do a part two, but so far that's all. Yeah, that is all for now. So thank you for watching, guys. See you.